first picture. And how did I react? Quite honestly, I freaked out. I freaked out. I started to see the scale creep back up, and I freaked out. I said, okay, let me revisit what's going on here. Am I eating too much? Am I eating the wrong thing? Am I not exercising enough? Am I not getting enough protein? Mind you, 170 grams of protein a day I'm eating. Am I not getting enough protein? So I pulled back on what I ate, and I tried to bump up my protein, and I was just convinced if I just follow the rules, I can reverse this thing that's going on with me. So that didn't go quite as I planned, because 2010, 2002, and again, these are subtle changes, but 2011, I have this propensity for bathroom selfies, so when I was looking for pictures of me from 2011, I'm sorry if you get offended by bathroom selfies, that's just who I am. I'm working on it. And again, may or may not see a big difference, but this girl has gained an additional 15 pounds. The only thing at this point that's saving me from, completely falling apart is the fact that I just have this unwavering faith that if I keep working and if I keep up the protein, if I keep up following the rules, that something will change. But like I said, in lieu of the protein, I'm throwing the caloric counts out the window. A lot of the decisions I'm making is solely on protein. I wasn't looking at fat, I wasn't looking at all of these different things. If you eat too much of anything, folks, you can gain weight. I was eating too much for what I was supposed to be doing, and I wasn't eating the right things. Some of the bounce back, you hear from bariatric circles that some bounce back is normal. At this point, I'm at 35, almost 40 pounds regained. And yeah, it was at this point me freaking out in freak out mode. So what happened next was that I responded to this bout of regain a little bit differently. The first time I freaked out and I tried to make a lot of changes and bring my food to where I thought it should be, bring my exercise up to where I thought it could be, and I freaked out. After this bout, I got really, really angry with my Roux-en-Y. It's like I was really, really mad at my Roux-en-Y. And I went through a period that I affectionately call bariatric adolescence. And bariatric adolescence is basically me saying, well, I'm gaining weight. I'm following all the rules, even though I'm not really. In my head, I'm following the rules. I followed all the rules, and I'm still gaining weight. So, if I'm just gonna gain weight, and here's where my addict mentality comes in, and I'm probably gonna gain all the weight back, I might as well eat whatever I wanna eat. So, for a period of time, that's just what I did. I ate whatever I wanted to eat. There are certain things that make me sick, like any other post-op. I can't do a whole bunch of real sugar, I can't do it. But there's things that I can eat a lot of, popcorn, crackers, cookies, chips, things like that. One thing that I think is unique to an addict's brain is that we begin to start to sort of scheme and connive our way around rules. So I knew things like if I ate a certain amount of protein, I could go after that and chase it with a bunch of carbs, and it wouldn't make me get dumping syndrome. Don't use that information for evil people. But I could get around the rules, and I figured out how I could get around the rules, so I went completely off the rails at this point. And this is where having your why is really important, because I've talked to a lot of post-ops in my 8 years since surgery, and I've heard some really great whys. I've heard some post-ops who have, chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes or polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they want to help correct some of these things, and they've been told losing weight will help correct some of these things. I've met folks who want to have a baby and they need to lose weight in order to increase their chances of fertility. I've met people whose families were all morbidly obese and have died early, and they've had bariatric surgery because they just want to live. Those are great whys, and those things are the things that tend to bring you back off the ledge when you have gone crazy. All of us go a little crazy every once in a while, even if we don't know it at the time or don't want to admit it. Yes, we all do have those little crazy moments in our post-bariatric lives. I didn't really have that. I had the scale, and the scale had betrayed me. In my eyes, I followed all the rules. The scale didn't do what it was supposed to do. So I went off the rails, and it actually, in the end, took something very, very tragic happening to me to sort of bring that home and bring the why. This is the part of the presentation where Nikki hopes she does not start crying. I do. Somebody hug me, okay? Thank you. Okay, so what brought me to my why? If you had told me when I woke up on the morning of March 29th, 2012, that by the time I laid my head back down that night that my mother would be dead, I would not have believed you. That woman was a force in my life. She was, I described her as a lioness. She was just so powerful in my life. You heard the story about my prom dress. I don't know what she said to that man to get him to make that prom dress, but he was very vehemently against it, and she got him to do it. I remember once when I was young, I studied Russian for a number of years, and I got hired during the summer as a translator for an older Russian man, and my mom was very suspicious of sending her 14, 15-year-old daughter to hang out with an old guy all day. So she goes over to meet this man. This man speaks no English, she speaks no Russian. They go off in a room together, and the man loved her from that minute on. That was the kind of force we were dealing with. This was the woman who guided me through the process of deciding to go through bariatric surgery. This was the woman who picked me up from the hospital and took me to her home and fixed me meals. She took my children to and from school as I was recovering. She bought me a new wardrobe every month after my surgery because I refused to buy clothes for myself until I got to that point where I felt like I deserved a new wardrobe. She's like, honey, we're celebrating this thing all the way through. If you had told me that this woman, this force of nature, was going to be gone from me that day, I would not have believed you. But what I have to tell you about this woman, and this is important to the story, is that she herself wasn't healthy in a lot of ways. Just before I had bariatric surgery, she found out that she had type 2 diabetes. Now, my mom had already been through so much. At this point, she's 20 plus years in recovery for addiction. And so she's been through the whole process of detoxing off of drugs, detoxing off of alcohol, giving up a lot of vices. I think she even quit smoking there for a while. And you know, she, as a result of drug use, she had like hepatitis B, and she had all of these problems that she had overcome. And so she found out she had type 2 diabetes, and I think that was just like the one straw that broke the camel's back. It's like, this is the one thing that I really just can't deal with. And so after she found out she had type 2 diabetes, it was an interesting process because in the beginning she would say things like, I'm taking the day off of diabetes today. And that was her code for, I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat, and you guys aren't allowed to say anything because I'm taking the day off of diabetes. But slowly it became that there were more days off of diabetes than there were days on diabetes. She progressed to being on medication after medication. She developed neuropathy in her legs and her hands. She would be prone to things like losing all of her feeling in her legs and falling and things like that. Just got sicker and sicker and sicker. I was really frustrated, especially after I went through the process of bariatric surgery, because her diabetes education where she went was not good. So they would tell her things like, you can eat 45 grams of carbs a meal. And you know, from my end, when I was learning about diabetes, I was learning that, you know, that's sort of a maximum, not a goal. That was not presented to her as a maximum, it was presented as the goal. So she's like eating bananas like 2 or 3 times a day. She's eating like muffins, and she's eating all of these things. And you know, I plead with her, Mom, please, you know, we've got to change. You know, you inspired me to this change. Let me, you know, help inspire you. And then after a period of time, as I was going through my own struggle, I got very angry with her, and so I stopped investing in her process. But after a point, she just sort of let herself go. So this woman who, to me, I love this picture of her because she looks so regal in this picture, is this woman who took the care, you know, she had these long locks down her back, took the care with the jewelry, with the makeup. It's like you would go to her house, and she would have just anything on, and it'd be stained. And who knew when was the last time she, you know, changed her outfit or took care of herself. So in a lot of ways, her health degenerated as my health got better, and then my health started to degenerate. And then I woke up one morning, and I went to work, and I was actually in a training, interestingly enough, on gender dynamics, where we were talking a lot about our parenting and our upbringings. I talked about her a whole lot that day, only to get the phone call at 8:30 p.m. that evening that she had passed away. She was found in her living room. To this day, we don't completely know what happened. It was ruled complications of diabetes because and I don't know how it is here, but in the state of Maryland, if you've already passed away, by the time the EMTs get there, they do not do an autopsy. So I don't 100% know why my mother isn't here with me today, but I know that she's not here. So that, understandably, made me take pause. It made me take pause, and it was one of those kinds of things, and if any of you have lost anybody in your life, but especially your mom or your dad, it's like one of those sorts of pain that you almost don't know if you can handle it or deal with it. And here's the thing about me, and if you listen to that podcast that I gave you the link to before, you'll hear the complete story behind this, but